Hello everyone, welcome to Metro Matters. I'm Mary Sitt. With summer right around the corner, you may be planning weekend beach outings to Galveston. And wouldn't it be fun and great to avoid that traffic and hop on a commuter train? Finding a way to partner with counties and cities surrounding Houston and developing a strong regional transit network is the focus of our next guest. John Sedlak, Executive Vice President and Director of Partnering Strategy, has worked at Metro for 28 years. He has served as Assistant General Manager of General Planning and Development and as VP of Planning, Engineering, and Construction. He is responsible for the development of Metro's capital program, including our first rail line on Main Street. John is also a registered architect with a master's in architectural and urban planning from Pennsylvania State University. Thanks for being with us.
Great to be with you, Mary.
So you probably know everything there is to know about Metro.
No, but I know a lot of the history that we went through and the growth and development of this agency and how it's also gone along with the growth of this city.
Let's talk about what you're currently doing, which is partnering, which is one of our 7 operating principles. What exactly does that mean, partnering with other agencies or
well, even more so, we have 3 strategic priorities of the agency. One of them is Metro becoming a trusted partner. And Metro needs to reestablish some of the partnerships that we've had over the years. And so my focus is to look at this not only on a short-term basis, but also strategically on a longer-term basis. So I'm very much involved with reestablishing the partnerships that we have across our region. I'll give you one example. We developed one of the largest high-occupancy vehicle lane systems in the nation. We developed that under a partnership with the Texas Department of Transportation. That was early days of that program were difficult and challenging to have a transit agency working directly with a highway department. Really no precedent for that anywhere in the United States. And we were able to forge a good relationship, a good partnership with our colleagues at TxDOT. And Metro then put in place over 100 miles of facilities that have been serving this community for 20 years now.
And without that partnership, we probably wouldn't have been able to build a network that large?
Absolutely, without that, because what's happening is Metro was able to utilize the right-of-way that was owned by the state of Texas and the Department of Transportation and go in and work with them within their right-of-way, put new facilities in place, new access to those facilities, and then Metro provides the management and oversight of the high occupancy vehicle lane system. And that partnership continues because now we're modifying that system to become high occupancy toll lanes.
Hot lanes. Hot lanes.
So those hot lanes will give us the ability to get more benefit, more effectiveness out of that resource, that asset that we put into place. So that again is one example of how we build partnerships and how we try to sustain those partnerships.
Okay, John, I'm interested in that train to Galveston because I want to take the kids to the beach and I hate driving there.
It's a really great idea, and from a long-term standpoint, a vision of transit for the future of this region. That is one of the corridors that's currently being looked at, and being looked at very hard for how commuter rail might possibly be employed to connect us from downtown Houston to downtown Galveston. And it's interesting to note that over 100 years ago, that was an idea that was given more effort and put into place, and we had at one time a project called the Interurban. Interurban ran on Texas Avenue from downtown Houston, and it ran directly to the city of Galveston. You could make the trip from downtown Houston, downtown Galveston in 1930 in a time period of about 55 to 60 minutes.
That's great.
You can't make that trip today on the Gulf Freeway. But what happened was the Gulf Freeway took the place of the Interurban because it was taken down and we created the Gulf Freeway.
So are we anywhere near doing something similar now? I mean, you're sitting on a board now that Galveston County, is that right?
Right. Well, Galveston County is very interested in re-exploring that idea of connecting these two cities with rail transit. The best long-term solution may very well be commuter rail, but To get the funding put in place, you have to go through the various studies that the federal government requires, and we're going through that now. The City of Galveston has a consultant that's doing work, and Metro is involved in the review of that work. And I personally, as part of this strategic partnering effort, sit on the Galveston County Transit District, a newly formed board, which is focused on trying to put in place some of the transit strategies for the short term and the long term to serve Galveston County and the City of Galveston. Commuter rail being one of those.
Now, John, when an urban planner says long term, you're talking 30 years out, 40 years?
I'm hopeful that we may be able to see something like this in a 10 to 15 year time frame.
You talked about going out in the community and rebuilding trust with our partners. How do you do that, and how difficult has it been to do that?
One of our big stakeholders in Harris County is the Texas Medical Center, one of the largest employment locations in our region. It continues to grow and become a very, very large activity area. Many of the employees that work for the various institutions, the medical center, ride our services. They're a large stakeholder, and we want to be partners with them as they expand the Texas Medical Center. And it's interesting, that's a city in itself.
Right.
It would fall in the top 20 in the United States as central business districts, yet it's not built like a city. It doesn't have a street network like a city. So public transit is an essential part of serving the Texas Medical Center's transportation needs. Metro needs to be there as a partner with them. So specifically, our president, George Grenius, and myself are meeting with members of the Texas Medical Center, the institutions, their leadership.
All the presidents of the hospitals?
The presidents of the hospitals, and asking them what they see as the needs for their institution from Metro, and we're trying to meet those needs.
Is it a slow process to change people's perception about Metro?
It is a lengthy process. I won't call it slow. It involves, again, reestablishing relationships, reestablishing partnerships, and that one-on-one relationship building is extremely important towards the successful implementation of any service that we would put in place.
We need to take a little break right now, but we'll be right back with more from John Sedlak, who will tell us his vision for transit in Houston. Stay with us.
Morning, Bob.
Good morning.
Hey, Abuelita. Hey, kids.
Beautiful day, isn't it? But wait, where's Lucille?
She still thinks driving to the zoo is faster than taking Metro Rail.
Forget about it. We told her Metro Rail is the fastest way to get to work without worrying about traffic or parking.
She is a bit flighty.
Avoid the stampede. Take Metro Rail to the Houston Zoo.
Houston, Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed.
It's the M-E-T-R to the O. The buses and the trains keep you on the go. We got hybrids, we got low floors, all come equipped with ADA doors.
Hello.
Yeah! The 32 Renwick won't bring you down. It goes north to south, but it's still across town. Swift Line gets you from the SE, riding on the quick line to the TMC. Come on, take it easy, there is no fuss. The only way to ride is on the bus. You want to go, we got your ride. All around the city to the west side. Got my bus service, covering all your bases. Riding down the street, Metro's going places.
Check this out. Growing up in Houston's Fifth Ward, my dream was to become a world champion boxer. Back then, I didn't have a car, and the bus was my only way to school and work. Today, Metro is working harder than ever to keep Houstonians moving with new and expanded services. We all have dreams, and who knows, yours could be the next to come true. Join the Metro I Ride movement for a more mobile Houston. Visit ridemetro.org now and get on board.
We're back with John Sedlak, Executive Vice President of Metro and Director of Strategic Partnering. John, you've been here for 28 years. What was it like back in the early days?
I first arrived to build a heavy rail system. That was our plans that went down with the defeat of a bond referendum. But what we learned from that referendum was that the public didn't have much confidence in Metro's ability to build a multi-billion-dollar rail system when we couldn't even run an effective bus system in this region. Our buses were breaking down. They were in a state of poor repair. We didn't have the facilities to maintain them. So our focus in the early years were to really upgrade the bus system, upgrade the maintenance facilities, build new maintenance facilities, acquire new buses. That was an important part of what was necessary at Metro at the time to really put us into a position of providing a quality transit service to this region. So that was our focus, and over the years we've continued to have changes of our focus.
So 20 years from now, when you and I are both retired, what kind of transit system do you see in the Houston area?
My vision for the city and this region would be the build out of our light rail system in the core of our region, the expansion of that system with commuter rail into 3 or 4 different corridors, and then even the addition of high-speed rail, having the ability to connect from downtown Houston to downtown Dallas and possibly to San Antonio, so that this state will connect its urban centers via another mode of transportation other than driving to those cities or getting on a plane. If you add up the time it takes you to get to an airport today and make that flight and then make that trip from an airport to the central city, I think high-speed rail in the future will have the ability to beat that sort of travel time and do it reliably. That's the main part of that.
John, you know, the things you're describing happens every day on the East Coast. You know, up and down, taking the train from Washington to New York, Boston to New York, it's no big deal, right? Here, it's like, you know, we're inventing rocket science here, but it's happening in other parts of the country all the time, especially the older parts, like on the East Coast. Is it because we in Houston are so car-centric, we've got the spaghetti bowl of freeways, and we just can't get people out of cars, and people favoring cars and freeways versus...
Certainly that's some of it, that this is a city over the last 100 years has really been built upon the use of private vehicles on automobiles. And so yes, we are very car-centric, and structurally this community's been built and this region's been built for people to move around with private vehicles. So we have to work cooperatively with our other agencies in changing the playing field so that public transit and alternative forms of transportation have a fair chance of competing with the private automobile. Will ultimately be a region that may be 9 to 10 million residents in size, one of the largest in the nation.
We don't want all those cars on the road then.
And we won't be able to accommodate all those automobiles. We're going to have to move towards alternative forms of transportation.
John, how do you stay focused on that long-term vision when there are so many short-term issues and maybe some stumbling blocks along the way?
Well, constantly there are frustrations on the short term and budget issues, how we deal with an annual allocation of our resources in the most effective way. You have to stay focused, though, on a long-term plan. And we have to have in place a plan that we can execute and execute smartly. So I try to keep my focus oriented towards how can we make these things happen over the next 10, 20, and plus years, and put the steps in place right now and put the early stages of a plan in place that can ultimately be delivered to this community, because that's going to make Houston a better place to live, work, and actually raise a family for the future.
Very good. Thank you so much for being with us, John.
Great to be with you, Mary. Thanks.
That's all for this edition of Metro Matters. Until next time, stay in touch by finding us on Facebook, following us on Twitter, and joining the conversation on our blog at ridemetro.org. I'm Mary Sitt. Thanks for watching.